What's going on, Rage Nation? We are live. Let me go ahead and pull up the chat docs. Way I can get that. Chat, there we go. Welcome. There we go. Got the chats pulled up. What's going on, Rage Nation? Gonna do a live stream. Gonna talk about a small local event I went to in OKC. And I'm just gonna verify that we are recording because I don't trust things sometimes. There we go. Sorry, real quick. Cool. Looks like we're going. All right, good deal. So we're going to get going and talk about this event that I went to. I'm just going to refer to the 3 games that I played. Thoughts about playing back in the Bayou again. Yep, I'm back on that crack cocaine. I'm sorry. I tried to play Shenlong and be competitive and try hard, but the Bayou just called me. If you see the thumbnail for this video, it has the, why can't you just be normal and just a kid screaming in the background? That's the Bayou, man. It keeps calling me. I don't know why, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and just talk about the event and just talk about how I did. And yeah, that's kind of it. So, matter of fact, I'm going to pull up Longshanks as well, just so you can kind of see. It was just a 6-person tournament, so it's not like it was a top table type thing. All right, there we go. Boom. My dashboard. I'd like to think that I'm one of the people responsible for Longshanks being a thing. Yeah, I'm not going to vote on whatever this is. Okay, so attended, and click on that. I just like this to have reference, kind of looking back and forth. But it was just a 6-person tournament, and it's awesome. The Oklahoma guys are cool. I definitely like to get more people showing up consistently to these events, which is why I've been traveling down for them, just trying to kind of grow their meta and just get good competitive games in. And they do have some good competitive players, even though they're just kind of getting started up. But you can see the split Bayou at the top because Bayou's OP. Hashtag nerf Bayou, apparently. And then I got to open up the chat window, docs. There we go. Feel free to talk in the chat. You can, there's different features in there that they just put up for our YouTube channel. So there's like super chats and crap if you want to support the podcast. Also got Patreon. All that's in the show notes there if you want to support us directly. But appreciate anybody watching this. Bayou's OP though, apparently. No, it's not. We had 2 guild people, and then we had 2 10 Thunder. So actually, it was just 3 factions, which is fine. I don't mind it when you see kind of people playing the faction that you love. Anyways, let's get into this. So my goal in this tournament, and I always think if you're just a new player, you just want to get competitive games. So I wouldn't focus on like anything besides, hey, I want to get 3 games of Malifaux in. If you're a new player going to a tournament. But for me, obviously I've been to a lot of tournaments, and I always make goals. I obviously winning is something that I try to do, but I also have another goal in mind. So for this one, I was like, okay, I need at least 2 games of Somer because I'm Somer curious. So that was my goal. I was like, okay, I'm going to drop Somer, preferably 3 rounds, but we'll see what happens. So that was the big goal here. I was just going to play the first version. I wasn't looking at playing Lootmonger yet. It's just, I wasn't quite there yet, right? Lootmonger has some interesting things, but I haven't put them on the table yet. So I didn't feel comfortable kind of trying to manage wins and play Somer Lootmonger. So I'm like, okay, we're going to play the first, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Get reps with it. That way I can see how he works, because I already have a ton of reps with Maw and Zip, so I know I can always play them, and that's not going to be a problem to be competitive. I played Brewmaster quite a bit, so I know he's also in my bag that I could play him, and he's solid. And Sommer's kind of like, I think Sommer's good enough to kind of fit himself into that rotation. He does things that that some other Bayou Masters don't do, and I'll talk about that as I get into just discussing kind of my evaluation of how I played and some of the things I noticed about the keyword, because Sommer's got a lot going on for sure. He's really powerful. So if you look at him, his card, the biggest thing for the keyword is Bayou 2 card. So during your activation, you can cheat once per activation with the Fate deck, the top card. So this is just nice when you have a random action. You're like, let's see if this goes off. And there was a game, actually it was the first game, where my opponent flipped a 12 on a duel. I think it was with a good old boy. Actually, it was to kill Fiona. And the good old boy had her down to 1 hit point. And he flipped a 12. Neither of us had anything left in the hand, really. And I was like, all right, well, I'll buy you 2 cards. Let's just see if it goes off. Boom, flipped a 13, killed her off. No opportunity for healing or any other shenanigans. So Bayou 2 card does come in strong sometimes. And it's just kind of like, oh, well, I flipped another 1. It's like, so even if you don't get it off, that's a 1 that's out of your Fate deck. So it's not as busted as it used to be, because it was busted. But it's still usable, and it's still very good when it comes into clutch. I'm an expert shot, so basically if you miss a shot, you can damage a model to have them take a melee action. I didn't set this up great in either of the games I brought Sommer. There was an opportunity where I could have got Lenny in there, and that would have been big, but I just sucked at getting it set up. It's not hard to set it up, but I didn't set it up well. I can see it where it is good though. The only times I saw it, I was like, oh, good, there's a Bayou Gremlin that can benefit from this. Let's not. And then bigger hat than you, it's always good. Make sure you share that with your opponents. I made sure at the beginning of the game, I told both my opponents, like, hey, if you don't discard all your, pass tokens, you're going to lose your hand. So make sure that you tell them so there's not any feel bads. As far as hard whooping, I did find some opportunities to get used. Putting people in pit traps with that is pretty solid. Boomer. I don't think I got any sexy boomer shots off. Like, I can't remember a shotgun shot that was like amazing. I think the best one I had put stunned on somebody. I did get one Ludum where I drew 2 cards. That was kind of cool. But besides that, nothing, not like any sexy shots where I was like, oh my goodness, I like killed this, this, and this. But, trying to figure out spots for that a little bit better. Gang up is where the money is with this. I used gang up. Really, you're using that a lot in your first 3 turns. Turn 1, you're trying to just bog down with like gremlins, maybe a good old boy. Turn 2, when you can actually score, that's usually when I bring out the crier. That way you can force interactions. I mean, there was times where I was, obeying models to interact with the strategy marker, or I was obeying them put scheme markers down, or obeying them to attack, and it was just really good. And you can remember obey your opponents too with criers. So it's just really good to summon stuff and get a lot of value. And foul mouth motivation was fine. Healing and getting focused, what's not to love. I do want to try to find cool situations to do ping damage, because if you look at it, you choose another model when 3 of the target, that model suffers 2 damage. So if a model's like close to being dead, like there was a couple of times where I think I had a model like at 1 hit point, and I could have just straight up gone with Sommer and been like, cool, foul mouth motivation, there's a mask, that model, take 2, you're dead. So trying to keep an eye out for that, because that's just going to be good in situations where you just need damage without a opposed duel. So I'll go over this first round. That's kind of just a generic, hey, what happened? So this was the first pool. It's against Ryan. Ryan's a really cool dude. He's becoming a really solid player in the Oklahoma meta. He plays Guild. So going into this, it was flank stuff the ballots. would deliver message, take prisoner, ensnare, espionage, and protected territory. Now, I know Ryan plays a lot of Hoffman, but this is not a great Hoffman pool. So I wasn't sure what he was going to bring. I was maybe like, maybe he plays New Lucius, maybe he plays this. And he decided to drop the Nelly. Yo, Nelly. So this is the list that he brought with Nelly, Printing Press, Fiona, Allison, Undercover Reporter, Falsehood. Undercover Reporter is such a good pull against Somer because there's so many minions on the board. False Witness, Nightcrawler Network, Field Reporter, and then of course the camera bots that are coming in. I ended up bringing Somer 1 with 2 Skeeters, Lenny Jones, Jebediah, Old Cranky, a Spithog, Drumstick, and Big Brain Bryn. Bryn was the boss as always. So some things that surprised me about Nelly. These new false witnesses are like gold, just pure gold. If you look at these things, they're pretty dang amazing. They have flexible morality, so you have to discard a card, otherwise you're at a negative. That's a new elite thing, I guess. And then they also have distraction. So there's a very real possibility that you're like at a double negative for some of these duels against them. And they also have exclusive interview, which is big because basically what was going on here is there was a lot of instances where there were things making me interact, but since I was engaged with the false witness or what was the other model? Oh, the camera bots with exclusive interview, they would control my interactions. So basically Ryan was trying to get it where he would do that and then interact with the ballots that I was sitting next to. So this is what he was trying to do. Now, that usually is very good, but Somer messed this up so hard. And the way that he did this, if you are not familiar, is with Old Cranky. So Old Cranky doesn't look like a lot, right? But his biggest thing is you can handle it, Shuddy. And basically all this is, it's an 8-inch, not an aura. So as long as you're within 8 inches of Cranky, you're going to be able to benefit from this. It's basically a take the hit for any big hat model that's a 3 cost or less. So this is basically Bayou Gremlins and your Skeeters. So if they're within 4 of the target, so as long as you're within 8 of Cranky and there's a 4 or a crappy model within 4 of the model that's getting targeted, the new target is the crappy Bayou Gremlin or the Skeeter. So there is, for the first 3 turns of this game, Ryan was trying to set up those cool plays of like, oh, I'm going to make you interact, I'm going to make you do this, blah, blah, blah. But after turn 2, he figured out how busted this ability was because there were so many times where he tried something. I was like, I'm going to put it on this gremlin. I'm going to put it on this. And after doing that twice, he's like, oh, those are insignificant. I was like, yep, they can't interact. He basically stopped forcing that issue until he had to kill old Cranky. And he did end up killing, I think, Cranky turn 4, maybe. That might be right. But it was because I just had a gremlin outside of 4, so that was kind of on me. But honestly, by turn 3 and 4, there are so many gremlins on the board that you kind of lose track of where Cranky is sometimes. So I was just sitting here like, man, where is Cranky? Oh, he doesn't have a model next to him. Oh, crap. And he died. So that was kind of on me. It was my bad. But Cranky was doing some work, I'll tell you. But by that point, it was too late because in this game, turn 1, I ended up summoning a crap ton of models. Basically, he had a point where Fiona and Allison were kind of going up a flank with each other, like BFFs. And I summoned, I think, 3 Bayou Gremlins and a Haberdasher. And basically, the Gremlins surrounded those models. Haberdasher just went screaming down the flank on its own. And that pretty much got him pinned back pretty quick. And then the next turn, I summoned a good old boy with, I think, another Gremlin. And that kept those models busy. And then we started doing things like, shooting into them. And it really kept Nelly's crew super busy and kind of on that back foot. Also, Jebediah was in, I think, Fiona Gage's kind of face. I just was pushing her around in pit traps, just keeping her busy because the armor 2's good enough. And the thing is, as long as Cranky's just within 8, which is a huge bubble, like you don't think about how huge that is until you just kind of see it on the table. I was able to cover on the right flank Jebediah, the good old boy that I summoned, and then I was also able to Sportle Cranky, obviously, and then Lenny and Somer as well. And basically anything of importance, any important action where it's like, oh, that can't go off, you just discard a card and a gremlin takes it instead. Or worst case scenario for your opponent, you do that to a Skeeter. Skeeter's defense 7. So if they're hitting against defense, you have a high enough card, you're just like, okay, well, cool. Oh, yeah, I'll make you miss. However, if they do kill those models, don't forget you're also drawing cards. So you're discarding a card to do this, take the hit, but then you're drawing a card when those models die. So it's really, obviously if they miss the attack, then you don't replenish your hand. So sometimes it's better if they miss sometimes. But a lot of times you do, because they're only 2 and 3 hit points, I think. I think both are 2. So if they hit it, it's probably dead. But that lets you draw a card. And if it hasn't activated, discard a pass token. So then you start to see the pass tokens kind of go down. So it really does mess with your opponent, like how they want to attack that crew, because it is very good. You just got to be good with those auras, and it does get very tiresome. This is a grindy game. Let's see. Did we put the score in here? Yeah, we kind of did, or at least Ryan did. Ryan was responsible. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'll talk about that here in a second. Some things that stuck out is those camera bots were being super annoying. Basically, the game didn't turn until Lenny got the tome triggers to do sweeping strike to kill like 2 of those camera bots, and I also killed the printing press and the false witness because of the sweeping strike. That sweeping strike is so freaking good. It's like, you kidding me? It's good. Pound of Dust didn't come up because I don't think he selected schemes. No, he did. I could have used that, I guess. Anyways. Shove Aside, I think I hit that once. It was just good. And honestly, I drew a bunch of cards off of Random Bout of Brilliance, just randomly. This is also the game where I remembered that Lenny had Flurry. So I was like, oh yeah, I get 3 attacks. Cool. Yeah, Lenny's super good. He's good for unpacking. He tossed Somer. He tossed Bryn up the board. Got things going. So I tell you what, this is a solid crew. Drumstick, I've been talking a lot with my buddy over in Danger Planet, Doug, and he's super high on Drumstick. He's fine. I'm going to give him more games. And you get a Bayou Gremlin, which is cool, but the other stuff I'm just kind of meh on. I mean, the heave trigger was cool. I got that off in a game. But really, he's only moved 6, and I kind of want something that can interact a little bit more on the flank, and he kind of doesn't do that. So I got to play with him more. I think Falling Skies for the Burnt to a Crisp trigger is probably pretty good. So I got to play with him more. Drumstick didn't impress me as much as I think Doug was hoping that it would. So we'll see. Not super big on the Drumstick right now, but I'm going to, as always, I try to give models about 5 games before I make like a solid decision about them. Maybe in Somer 2, I think Fan the Track is a little bit better because you want more Bayou Gremlins. So I don't know. I'll try him out with the title. I don't think that his bonus just getting a random Bayou Gremlin's needed, because usually you just crap, 4 out anyways really early. So we'll see. Drumstick, still out on that. Newsflash, Jebediah is good. If you haven't played him in Maw or in Big Hat, play Jebediah. Like I said, I used his Trampling Hooves to do a crap ton of damage and injured to Fiona. Couldn't push her into a trap though because she had a coat, which is fine. Scootin' Boots real good. turns out. Ride with me, putting pit traps down. Super good gun. Jebediah is just a house. Bring him. He's an auto include in my book. I don't think any Maw or Somer player would disagree with that. He's really good. Looking at this list, let's go to the schemes real quick. So I took Take Prisoner and Protected Territory. Protected Territory is super easy with Somer. It's like you're just crapping out, scheme markers. You have the Haberdasher that was just walking around and dropping them, picking up scheme markers in the backfield. Super good. Take Prisoner, I ended up taking that. I did it on the Undercover Reporter because, once again, I knew the Undercover Reporter is going to come into, somewhere where he thinks it's weak and it's going to do its own thing. So I kind of figured that, it's going to be there. I can move a model to engage it. Should be easy points. And it was pretty easy points. Let's see. Ryan took Espionage, and I think his other point was Take Prisoner, or his other scheme, but he took it on. What's his face? I gotta look it up. Where is it? He took it on Drumstick, and I kept Drumstick off in the corner by himself, so there was just nobody that could get over there because I just tied up all of his models in the middle of the board, and there was nothing getting over there. So he was just like, and that's a dead scheme. I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up winning this game. I believe it was 6-3. And it was a really good game. Nelly is definitely a tough matchup. There we go. Just make sure I got this accurate. Yeah, I won 6-3. Okay. You guys can't quite see that. So, Nelly's good. If I was playing Guild right now, I think I would play the crap out of Nelly. The only thing is, when you play Nelly, you got to be aggressive with Nelly because you really want to benefit on putting out a crap ton of distracted and stunned. Also just getting cards, pushing your models around. Twisted Ideals is actually what killed Cranky. Cranky was sitting around like corpses, schemes, scraps. Like there was a crap ton of stuff around him. And you take a damage for equal to the number of markers around you. There's like 7 markers. So all of a sudden, Nelly just goes, hey, old Cranky. And I didn't have a model to take the hit. And all of a sudden, you just see Cranky explode. It was just not good. And sometimes, it's just like, yep, you got him. You got it. Good job. But yeah, you got to be aggressive with Nelly. Like that was an aggressive play. And it was kind of a deployment error, and Ryan and I talked about this, where he just got Nelly kind of stuck behind. There was a house, or not a house, it was kind of just a building. And basically she was behind the printing press and another model where she couldn't get through it. And then there was a forest over here. So it was really just kind of a clunky unpack. But I think the more reps he gets with her, the better that's going to be. Because I didn't have to worry about Nelly until like turn 3. She came in finally. So, that was probably the big thing. MVP of my game, I would probably chalk that up. I got to go with Lenny. Lenny just did a ton of work here. It's hard not to say Somer because he's just summoning so much. But Lenny just positioning with the tosses, also just killing 4 or 5 models, whatever he did in the center. Because the thing is, the game probably would have been closer to a draw if I didn't control the center. Like if I didn't control that, he forces me to interact and he interacts with it. And that ballot was important because I could only control 2 other ones. And even that wasn't a give me because if somehow Fiona punches through and Allison can get through, all of a sudden the 2 markers I did control, I only control 1. So I really had to, I needed to win that spot. So Lenny was big in winning that spot. I will also say Gremlin General, getting a mask when you do the Bayou 2 card is clutch. Mainly because there were tons of activations where I just had a Skeeter charge my own models and hit the You're Coming With Me trigger. Because, when you Bayou 2 card it, it doesn't have a target number. So it doesn't matter if you flip the Black Joker, you got a mask built in there. So Just really solid stuff. There was also an instance where I did get the larva to go off to get another skeeter, so that was cool. So good first game. I will say my brain did hurt here. My clock was getting a little low. We got to like turn 4, and I think I had like 10, 12 minutes left or something like that. So there were a lot of models on the table. I will say that. There were a lot of gremlins and a lot of pain, and yeah, it was one of those things where it was just tough. It was almost, the next game was even worse, which I'll go into, but this is the problem I think with Somer 1 is sometimes you get you have so many models, and it's like I like to keep track with the cards. So then I'm like, okay, which gremlin is this? And you got to figure it out. And yeah, I got to get better at that if I'm going to play this keyword for sure. So good first round, happy with the win. We will go to the next one, which actually was a Bayou mirror match. And this was a completed one. Bayou. Cloak and Dagger, there it is. So this one was corner, Cloak and Dagger. So I found it interesting how good Somer is into corner, because traditionally I would have thought the keyword would have sucked at corner deployment. Quite the opposite. I was very, very impressed with how mobile this crew is. Let them bleed, deathbeds, outflank, sweating bullets, take prisoner. So a lot of positional and a lot of killy kind of things going on there. I ended up taking deathbeds and take prisoner, and I think I took it on Mossbeard. So, and then he ended up my opponent. He ended up taking take prisoner as well, and he also took deathbeds. However, I chose the strat marker. My opponent was playing Zip, and he chose pianos. However, he took Zip 2. So those of you that play Zip will know that this version of Zip does not drop pianos. If you look at Zip 2, there is no piano here. Nowhere to be seen. The only thing in this list that creates pianos is Earl. So you can do this, but it's kind of risky because Earl dies, turns out. And guess what? Earl died turn 1. He put down 2 pianos and then he died. I think I ended up. I think a good old boy got him. I think I summoned a good old boy off of one of his models. But anyways, I'll go over what we both brought. So he brought the Dread Pirate Zip, Earl, Mossbeard, Swashbucklers, First Mate, Houdini, Squish and Squash, and a Flying Piglet. I didn't even know what Houdini did. I have never played this model, so I was like, all right, this is going to be interesting. Squish and Squash, it's fine. It's fast. That's all I knew about it. That's all I knew. So I was like, okay, this is an interesting list. Let's see what it does. And then I end up bringing a different list. This is actually what I should just label as the Danger Planet Doug Somer list. So Somer 1 with 2 Skeeters, the White Rabbit Company, Old Cranky, Drumstick, Jebediah, Lenny Jones, and McTavish. So a little different. There's not as much card manipulation. Obviously, Bryn in the other one, which I didn't talk about. If you don't play Bayou and you don't know, Bryn filters your deck pretty well. He has Calculate, and that puts 10 in the bin. You get to put 3 Severes back in your deck, draw a card. It really cooks the deck. And I noticed that in Game 1. Game 1, there are a lot of more instances of my Bayou 2 card hitting because Bryn was just stacking the deck up. So that was definitely something that was good Game 1. I did notice this. So there was 2 problems with this game. One, I didn't have Bryn to filter the deck, so it was a little less consistent. I did have more mobility because of the White Rabbit Company. I did also get to put hats out, which helped reduce damage. But if you look at the schemes that I took deathbeds, which hats are great for that because I can just put a hat on a model, score deathbeds. But the other schemes, it didn't matter. If I wanted to do outflank, it could, but I don't think outflank's a scheme that Somer wants to do. You probably could I guess you could. I could probably summon, what, 2 haberdashers and just send them out. So I guess he could do it. I just don't think it's probably one of his stronger schemes, for sure. So anyways, more mobility in this crew. And then obviously the gun with Jebediah, but then also McTavish. If you haven't played with the new McTavish, this dude is so good. He's not busted, but he's good. And the biggest things that I've noticed is, for Deathbed's example, like when I picked Deathbed's and I saw there was a flying piglet, I was like, I'm going to murder this flying piglet and score Deathbed's off of it. And I was correct, because it came in to get a strat token. I just kind of put the strat marker by it, went with McTavish, did the bonus to do the I can dig it, dropped a scheme marker, shot it. I think I shot it twice. I think I had to because I hit min 2 or something, and just killed it. Scored Deathbed's turn 2. Maybe it was turn 3. Didn't have to worry about it though. It was just good. And he can do that. McTavish sets himself up. He could also do ensnare. He could do a lot of things where it's just like, yep, he's just a boss. You could even do something where it's like, for deliver a message, I'm going to, on the move, I'm going to interact, I'm going to do my bonus, push 2 out, and then I'm going to run away. Just very, very good mobility you can do with him. And the reason I brought guns is because Zip stuff, one, the new McTavish ignores concealment. I guess he did before, but it just, I knew like, okay, Zip's going to have concealment, which ironically he didn't in this list, which I'm like, okay, great. I don't have to deal with concealment, I guess. I did have to deal with a crap ton of distracted, because apparently on these swashbucklers, that trigger for walk the plank is not against melee. So like I shot one with McTavish and he's like, cool, I'm going to push you and distract you. I was like, well, that sucks. Thanks for that. Swashbuckler is pretty decent though. I ended up killing one of them. I didn't kill the other one. Combat finesse can be a little rough, but guns is the real way to deal with them. And I think you are going to see swashbucklers. So if you're playing against Zip, I would expect maybe one swashbuckler in a lot of games, especially if they're going with the title, which obviously you don't know until they share the list. But I would bring a gun against Zip just in case, because these swashbucklers, if you don't, they're putting out a crap ton of distracted. Mossbeard puts out distracted. Zip 2 puts out distracted. I think there was a time where I had, it must have been like 4 models with like distracted 3 on them. Like it was bad. And I just kind of powered through it with just sheer bodies. I think there was a point in this game I had like 15 gremlins on the board. But going back into it, the mobility was really good. McTavish was really good. Drumstick didn't do crap in this game. This is the game because Zip kind of just bodied him. And I was just like, okay, that's what I feel like happens to Drumstick. I feel like he just gets bodied by so many, beater schemers. Because he's only defense willpower 4, right? And no defensive tech. If they go after him, he's just dead. Now so the argument is he makes his own gremlin with fan on the track, and that enables Cranky's take the hit aura, because now you have a model to do that. But I feel like you want a flanker, right? Like you don't. Do you want Drumstick in the middle of the board? He's a 6 move flyer. I feel like he wants to be on the flanks. And if you're on the flanks, you really need that. And, old Cranky's not going to be near enough to do anything. So I got to play it more. I only got 2 games with Drumstick. But he's not a flanker because he's not even AP efficient. Like he walks in wrecks. Okay. Like that's it. Like there's no reposition on his card. So he's not really a flanker. So I feel like he has to be in the middle of the board. So if I bring him next time, I think I'm almost bringing him just to set up that take the hit aura. Just be like, okay, cool. Here's a he's probably more valuable in the title. Maybe. I don't know. I got to play it out. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Drumstick. I know some people are like in love with him that play Big Hat, and I can see some of it, but I wasn't super impressed on Saturday. Not gonna lie. Because in this game, like I said, he just got bodied. I had him interact with the strategy by obeying with a crier, which, here, let's show you this crier freaking trigger because this thing's amazing. Because I was engaged by Zip. Okay, these criers are freaking good. So you want to summon one of these probably turn 2, maybe turn 3, the latest. Definitely by turn 2, you should have one of these down. Basically, the biggest thing with them is they have bully. So if they're telling somebody else to do something with obey or any action, they get a mask built in with it. So, and they obviously have the distracted aura, which is really cool. The big thing is their obey. You only need an 8, but the threatened beatings trigger makes it where an insignificant model, so doesn't matter if it's a mosquito, doesn't matter if it's a Bayou gremlin, they ignore that and they ignore being engaged for some reason. So when Zip was on the drumstick model, I was engaged, but I was also right next to the strategy. So I was like, hey, Gremlin Crier, tell that model to go ahead and get an intel token anyways. And he did. And it was good. So the Crier was actually more valuable than Drumstick, ironically. I'm still figuring out new declaration. I was running short on clock in game 2, so I couldn't really think of cute ways to make that work. But hey, spoiler alert, Criers are good. Let's see here. So this game was definitely interesting. I ended up killing quite a bit. I guess I did kill both swashbucklers. I killed everything but the first mate and Mossbeard and Zip. And my opponent, he was great. He's actually the guy that let me use his Big Hat models. And he kind of started, I wouldn't say rage quitting, but he got very upset when he realized he wouldn't be able to score deathbeds, like any point of it. And there's, that definitely sucks when you go into and something bad like that happens. You're like, oh, I can't score this scheme anymore. The one that sticks in my head with that is I was playing Sandeep and Angel ended up smoking Sandeep turn 2 unactivated. And I took the scheme where you had to have like, how many was it? 5 markers of the same type on your opponent's side, load them up or whatever it was called. And I was just like, oh, I have very little ways to put fires down now. Great, because he did bring a model to get rid of markers. So it was fantastic. So I know how he felt. This game ended up being, go to round 2. I think it was 6-3. Does that sound right? 7-4. So he got a point for take prisoner. He got 1 for the cloak and dagger, 2 for cloak and dagger, and another point somewhere. So this game, I was super low on clock just because I had so many models. I think I had like 14, 15 models. It was kind of ridiculous. So many models. There we go. Making sure the chat's still working. So many models that I had to just be like, cool, I'm not going to activate that, or that. Just because there was nothing to do and it was just soaking up so much time. So I think that's kind of the trick with Somer, is just figuring out, yes, you're going to have a lot of models, but what do you do with them? So, yeah. 2 games with Somer, 2 wins. Felt pretty decent with it. Just got to clean up purpose. When you play a summoner like that, you just have to have a clear purpose on, I'm summoning this for that. It needs to do this. And my important models are scoring this way. It would be very easy with Somer to get lost in the dirtle. Let's see here. So round 3 fight. So I was at the top. In progress. So my buddy Dallas, good friend of the show, he ended up declaring Thunders. And I kind of know the keywords Dallas has, but I was like, okay, if I'm playing against 10 Thunders, it has to be Maw Tucket. there's no other way to play against them. I need to make sure that I pick Maw. It doesn't matter what the there we go. It doesn't matter like who I'm playing against. Doesn't matter what's going on. It needs to be Maw. And the reason is, I feel like because of the new Asami keyword, Maw just has a very good play into all that hazardous terrain. Plus, she can put out her own problems that I think are difficult for Oni to deal with. The main thing, and I'll show you because this is actually, I think, my list classified as, yep, my Asami bullet list. I have different variations of this, but I think I actually changed this up a little bit for this matchup. Dallas, my buddy, picked Misaki. So into Misaki, the reason why I picked this list is because I've played against Misaki before with Maw 1 and other minions like Bushwhackers and Survivors and the test subjects, and Misaki just one-shots those models, like just like running along, just decapitating gremlins. So I had to pick a crew that was a little more hardy, a lot of armor too, a lot of healing, soulstone users, things like that. So I ended up bringing Maw. She had 12 cups of coffee because it is insane on that big fat base. Little ass soulstone miner, lucky emissary because F them shadow markers. Sparks LeBlanc because problems I'll share in a minute. Jebediah because he's a beast. Don't mind the skulls. Mechanized Pork Chop and Trixie Bell. So I'll talk about my stuff here in a minute. Dallas ended up bringing Misaki Karanaka, Shang, Banying because he's a beast, Atoto, Fuhatsu because guns are good, Terracotta Warrior for Take the Hit. That was kind of a weird one. I saw that and I was like, man, okay. Jin, Kunoichi. Kunoichi feels a little bit like a crutch, but hey, putting out focus is good, right? So the schemes that we both picked, I did In Your Face, so did he. I think that's very reasonable. Things are going to die with these two keywords. Sweating Bullets, I ended up picking that one, and he did Deliver a Message. So I did Sweating Bullets because I figured we'd kind of be hanging out in the middle a bit. You know, I didn't know where, but I figured Trixie Bell could snag a dude. That's who I picked for it. All right, got Trixie up there. She wanted to snag a dude. Or a lady, whatever. You know, it's a new day and age. No judging. At least I won't. Let's see here. And then, who did he take Deliver a Message with? I forget who delivered it. Was it Banying? Banying, I think, delivered the message. Anyways, so obviously the problems with Misaki, she's putting out a crap ton of shadow markers. She does this hit and run game. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to take that hit, right? Because Misaki's coming in, she's going to have like a double positive, at least one crit strike. She's doing 6 or 7 damage. So I felt like armor and soul stones needed to be used to reduce that to like 4, 2 damage. So that's why I had a lot of armor 2 stuff. Plus I tried to keep everybody together, right? I didn't want any slackers. The only person that was by themselves was the little lass because she was scared. So that was the big problem. Obviously, Fuhatsu was a problem. Even though I had armor, that gun can spike to do like 6 damage, which is 4. I didn't want to have that just come in. Jin, this didn't come up a bunch because the only minion I had was a Soulstone Miner. So I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Actually, I think Jin delivered the message now that I think about it. But and then Kunoichi handing out focus, it was fine. Like, you know that's going to happen. If you don't know because maybe you don't play against somebody that brings Kunoichi out a keyword, she basically hits this galvanized trigger. So you activate her to pick up a mask, or no, you discard a mask to get that galvanized trigger, and then you just shuriken models to hand out focus. And they're only taking like 1 damage. So that's the stuff I had to worry about. He had some stuff to worry about that he may not have been familiar with. First off, Maw is just good at pushing people in traps. The pit traps and scrap markers count as both, vice versa. Didn't have a chance for cool scatter. That's fine. The big thing, though, was the oversized drill ignores the resist trigger on Ban Ying. So once I got him locked down, that was something I was very much trying to do to score in your face. Scamper. Scamper's a problem. The other big problem was the Lucky Emissary. Dallas never played against it. It has Steamroller, so it can pick up lots of shadow markers. I will say that didn't come up as much because he put a lot of pressure on the Emissary where I had to run it off to heal it up with Sparks. So that didn't come up a ton. However, Lucky Emissary did drop a lot of bombs for me. And he didn't die, so I got the second point for in your face, which is awesome. Sparks, hostile work environment. So there's a lot of interaction in Misaki where you're targeting your own models. You're doing this, this, and this. So hostile work environment is definitely a big deal. The heavy wrench to heal friendly constructs too. Awesome. And then command construct was big. Just move the mechanical pork chop around, move the emissary around. It was just really good. Even Now You're a Robot to put shielded on some of my models that I thought he was going to wreck. That was something else where I was just kind of like, man, I gotta be on the lookout for that. Let me go ahead and put shielded on my mechanical pork chop. So Now You're a Robot did come up clutch a bunch. Let's see here. Trixie Belle, the big thing that she got, man, she is good looking gremlin. I don't care what people say. She is a lady. So she's going to use all her goods that Mecha Meemaw gave her. So big thing is Ill Omen's super good, giving you +1 to initiative. Don't Mind Me is the big thing, obviously. She ended up picking up his plant marker, I think, 2 times, if not 3. Sharp Wit, coordinated track and you're coming with me. Coordinated attack and you're coming with me. Throwing models into pit traps, always good. The Lure, I was getting so mad turn 1 and 2. Dallas had a stacked hand like the first 3 turns of the game. I tried to hit the stat 7 Lure on Misaki, and I was like, I'm going to cheat this 12. I'm at a 19. He had a 13 in hand to go to a 20. And there was a couple other attacks I did where he just cheated Severes to make me miss, including, I think, one time a Red Joker. So I didn't get to, bring anything into the death bubble. It's fine. I got a little upset. But I tell you what I was impressed with this is the mechanical pork chop. If you do not protect your bombs, mechanical pork chop is going to ride the rails or Sparks to steal your crap because it can get fast. So it's speed 6, ride the rails, gains fast. So there was a couple of times where Dallas left a bomb on pretty deep in my side of the table. But then I just rode the rails to a scrap marker, and then I walked and I picked up the bomb. I did that twice, I think. So just, I'm getting more respect for the pork chop. I thought it was kind of a crap model. And I played it against Dixon, and it did some work. And I was like, I'm going to have to give this a little more go. So I think not in Maw 1, because the big reason why is because Maw 2 and Sparks both make pit traps count as scrap markers, and scrap markers count as pit traps with these scrapyard mines, and friendly models are unaffected by these pit traps. So as long as you're close by, that kind of gets rid of some of the Nambo synergy. Also, heaps of trash. Trixie models 12 are unaffected by hazardous terrain. Didn't come up in this game, but this is the main reason why I think you play Mecha Meemaw into Oni, because that's a 12-inch ore is huge, right? And Maw is size 4, so there's like not a lot that's blocking her line of sight. And if something is going to block her line of sight, she just kills it. Oh man, I did get a sick drop down a hole trigger on Ban Ying. So she just went in, just kept throwing him in the pit trap, just killed him. It was beautiful. Beautiful stuff. As the game started to develop, I did have some stuff done. Jebediah got decapitated by Misaki, I think, turn 3. This one ended up being 8-4. I got all of my points. I understand why Dallas did it, because he had to try to score his strategy, right? But he kept kind of going back dropping bombs and then coming back into my crew with Misaki and a Toto and Banying. And he didn't have a schemer to kind of, if he would have had one schemer, like maybe Sun Wukong had a keyword or something, just to go down a flank by itself and drop 2 bombs, I think that would have helped him a lot. And a matter of fact, I need to tell him that because I didn't think about that at the end of the day because it was 3 rounds. But if he had that, he would have scored at least 2 points off the plant. You can see he only scored 1. He did score in your face, both because he did get a Toto back into my deployment zone, and he only got 1 point for deliver message. It was just, if he had one solid scheme runner, he would have been very, very good. And there's Sun Wukong's kind of, I was trying to think about this the other day. I don't know if Bayou has a good answer for like a scheme runner like Sun Wukong with just a nasty demise. Just kill it twice if you can. If I was playing Maw 1, I think I have answers. Maw 2, I don't think I have a great answer for going to get that. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But Jin, he was bringing because he thought I might bring more minions. He did get Jin twice because the Terracotta Warrior turned into Jin. So Jin died, Terracotta turned back into Jin. He died again. Fuhatsu didn't do much in this game because we were playing on this kind of industrial crate kind of board, and Fuhatsu was kind of on the other side of these crates. And I took almost my whole list and I just went to the left because I wasn't going to just give Fuhatsu free shots the entire game. I was just like, I know what? You're going to have to walk and shoot. It's like, I'm not going to give you any free shots. You're going to have to walk and shoot. He did start turn 1 and 2 to focus on the emissary. But then once I got kind of low on hit points, I just skedaddled. I just went total opposite side of the board. Fuhatsu had nothing to shoot at. He didn't get another shot off, I think, until turn 4. Just because of the positioning. So, and then I just brought the rest of my crew to bear on the stuff that I was trying to score. So I think Fuhatsu would have been better spent as a scheme runner for Dallas. And I think that would have worked better. Obviously, then there's not a lot of pressure initially on the emissary. But I think that's okay. I think the 10 Thunders players is fine there. Because I don't think the emissary is going to bully Sun Wukong that much. He can keep up, but I don't think he's going to bully him. But I think that was kind of there were 2 hiring mistakes here. Actually, for the pool and for what's going on here, I actually don't like these last 4 models. Kunoichi's fine if you really want to bring it. Terracotta Warrior, it wasn't even taking the hit for any of my stuff because I didn't have any range besides Jeb, and I couldn't get a clean shot off, and there was concealment, so I don't feel like the Terracotta Warrior was needed. Jin, I think he's probably an okay pick against most Maul list, but I expect Jin to come, so I was kind of like, I'm not going to bring any minions, except for 1. And then Fuhatsu, like I said, yeah, you got the positive to get around all the concealment, but if they pick Maw 2 like I did, his damage becomes a lot less impressive, and she has a lot more healing than Maw 1. So that can be a dicey pick. Plus, like I said, you need a scheme runner. Like, you want Misaki and a Toto to be decapitating things. I think, actually, if he did go with this list, Ban Ying should have just gone off by himself. Like, Ban Ying should have just screamed across the board, dropping bombs, scoring, whatever. What did he pick? Deliver message and in your face. Hold up. Power ritual. I think you could bring him, Ban Ying, and Sun Wukong and probably score power ritual on this. I wasn't going to do it, but you could. Anyways, this ended up being 8-4. So the tournament ends up going off. That was round 3. 8-4 for me, 7-4 for the other Bayou player who played Zoraida, which I thought was nice. Getting some toll action. And then I forget what this matchup was with Ryan and Lilith. But anyways, that's how the tournament ended. So just like wrapping up thoughts here, I think Bayou is in a pretty good spot. They do have some problems that they still can't answer greatly, but still pretty solid. Sommer definitely going to take some reps because, man, there's a lot of models on the table. And if you mess up old Cranky's aura, that can really, really be a problem for you, for sure. So I'm going to go to some cards real quick because I just want to talk about these 4, and then we're out of here. So these are kind of the masters that I'm looking at for Bayou. So Brewmaster is the first one. I think he's very playable, especially him and his title. So Moonshiner's really good, putting out all the poison, saying, hey, go scheme or go kill. Brew 1 just being superb for just killing things, luring stuff in and just smashing it. I'm really excited to give him a go here soon. So really excited about that. I think he's very playable into most of the strategies if you want. Zip, obviously this is the disruption master. He is just going to be a nightmare. You could play him in the only, I was going to say you can play him in most pools. Cloak can be a little dicey and ballots can be a little dicey because there's so many interacts. And if you play him into those ones, I feel like you got to bring the title just to get some more interact going on. But Zip's very good. He's on my radar to play in events as well. The other ones is obviously Maw. I love Mechami Maw. Oops, not Ophelia. Not Ophelia. I'm not an Ophelia fan. And Maw Tucket. She is superb. I love Maw1. Love her. Love her, love her, love her. And then the other one that I think has a ton of legs is Sommer. I'm going to try the title out. Try to figure out what's the good stuff on the card. It might be the melee. I got to figure that out. You can still get some summons there. Gremlin Raid, I think you get some jank there. It's not as much jank, though, as this. This guy with the cigar, does the other guy have a cigar? He does. They both have cigars. Good. I'm a cigar guy, so, you know. That's a big deal. Pipes and cigars. That's why I think I'm drawn to Sommer, because Old Cranky has a sweet corn cob pipe. You gotta love that. But a lot of jank on this card, a lot of good stuff. Man, that Boomer's super good. Hard whooping. I did enjoy that as well. So I think there's a lot here, and he's the one I'm gonna have to give the most reps to, because out of those 4, so Brewmaster, Maw, Zip, and Sommer is the one that's gonna take the most reps to just abuse and just make somebody's life miserable. I was talking with Beard Minis about it on YouTube here, and what makes Sommer and Big Hat good is they are so disruptive. When you play against other keywords like Maw, or you play against Brewmaster, like, okay, Maw is going to scamper. She's got movement shenanigans. I know how to deal with that. Brewmaster, crap ton of poison. He's going to punch me. Cool, I can deal with that. Looking at Zip. Okay, Zip's going to be annoying and scheme and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Cool. They're flying everywhere. Concealment. Yay. Sommer, like I was talking with Beard, you don't get to do things against Sommer because of that old Cranky aura. So if I was playing one of those other keywords I was talking about against, like, Nelly, for example, Nelly would still be like, cool, hey, Maw, or hey, friend, you're going to vote for Nelly. Go ahead. Hey, you, vote for Nelly. Whereas Sommer's like, you want to deal with these gremlins? Oh, you want me to vote? Sorry, Bayou gremlins can't vote. They're underage. That's why Sommer, I think, is good, because he's so disruptive. You have Lenny in there to toss. You'll have a lot of ways to remove scheme markers, bog models down, you know, make their APs less efficient, have them question on where they need to attack. So that's where I think Sommer is pretty powerful. And if I can get good with that disruption, he may slowly creep up into the top Bayou master that I pick. Right now, it's probably still Maw. Like if I'm in a tournament saying, okay, what's my strongest keyword? It's still Maw Tucket. I'm very comfortable with Maw. I have a Maw Unpack video you can see if you look at the list of videos that we have on the channel. Under that is Zip. I'm becoming pretty comfortable with Brewmaster. I think another 10 games I'll have some cool tricks with him. I probably need like another 20 with Somer. But man, once I play those 20 games, I think it's going to be nuts. I got to find a better way to keep track of everything because, like I said, I have cards and I was like spread out like this. I had like 15 gremlins in that one game, and it was just, good Lord, how do you keep track of that many? So I got to find a way to kind of maybe put my summons aside and figure out a way to mark them. I think maybe putting numbers on the bases for the Bayou gremlins, maybe. Or colors. I gotta think of that. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions. You're watching this video and you're like, hey, I saw somebody play Somer and they did this for their summons or they kept track of that. Yeah, just let me know. So thanks for checking this out. I really had fun in this tournament. Ended up winning it with the Bayou. I had a 10-point margin of victory. I had 21 scored, which was the highest in the event. And it was just a good one. The next one we got coming up, I don't have it on here because it's not on there yet, was the Houston Vodown. So if you haven't checked this out, Top Doug Designs Events. So if you haven't checked this out, and if you're anywhere in the United States or even overseas, we do have somebody coming from a different country, at least one that I know of. So October 11th to the 13th of this year, so that's about 3 weeks away, I think. It's going to be a very big tournament. We had, I think, 40 last year, 45 last year. Very good tournament. You get 3 events, right? So you get the 2-day tournament, which is 6 rounds, against a lot of good competition. There's a lot of newbies there too, so it's a good mix for all sorts of players. They have the Enforcer, whatever brawl thing, and they have the Henchman Hardcore. I think they do the Evil Twins event too, so I think there might even be 4 events that they're doing this. There's a karaoke. The hotel, as you can see from this picture, is right next to Dragon's Lair. You literally just walk. This is a walking diagram. And there's a rate that's very affordable. Only $55, gets you into all the events. Good time, good people. I'm going to be there. So is Dixon, and Trevor from that we've had on the podcast is going to be there as well. And yeah, just excited to be at this tournament here coming up soon. So getting prepped for that. Playing Bayou. I was doing Shenlong, but I got tired of playing them, guys. It was just, you guys ever play something that you know is good and you play it well and you just don't enjoy it? Anybody ever play a keyword like that? Because I was playing Shenlong and I was wrecking people, right? Like there were some games where I'm like, I am destroying you. And I know you can't do anything about this. And you're just like, I'm not having fun though. Like this is fine. Kind of feels like cheating. Cheating, get it? So I played a game of Zip and that was it. I was just like, I'm just having too much fun. Bayou's awesome. I got these sweet painted models that I'm going to be playing with. Yeah, and it's like going home. Line from The Prestige, if you've seen that movie. Except for not drowning. We're not drowning. Okay. But until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables. See y'all later. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. If you watched it when we weren't live recording, feel free to leave comments. I always keep an eye on it. And yeah, talk to y'all later.